Hi guys, it's Nancy from Into the Rabbit Hole with me. You'll have to excuse background noises because the kids are moving all around me in the background. But I have a bunch of books from the library that I have to return, and I was in the middle of doing like my research phase for the past couple months on what books I wanted to incorporate for our civil rights movement block, for World War One, World War Two, and all sorts of stuff. And so I figured before I returned it to the library, I'd share with you some of the ones that I recommend. Now I haven't read through them all word by word, but I have quickly like glanced through them, and the ones that I find are the most memorable and that I think would be really interesting are the ones that I'm going to share with you right now. So let's get started. And don't forget, of course, subscribe if you'd like to join and see more videos. So one of the ones that I personally am not going to use, but I wanted to share it with you guys anyway, just in case you guys have kindergarteners or first graders or younger kiddos, and you want a little bit of an introduction into the Tuskegee Airmen, I think that this one is decent. I think it's pretty good. And of course, with most like lower elementary books, it's not really going to get into any of the specifics or like the nitty gritty, but for a basic framework on who they are, why we should learn about them and stuff, I think that this does like a really good job. And you can see a lot of colorful illustrations, big fonts, and so I do recommend this one. But there's another one if you have upper elementary students, or even anywhere from mid elementary to upper elementary, there's another one that I would recommend over this one. But I did want to share this in case you guys had younger kiddos, you know? So this is Wind Flyers, and this is also on the Tuskegee Airmen, but it is a picture book, and so it has more of a narrative storytelling versus this just straight up has a nonfiction vibe to it. It's just straight up learning about it, and it's giving you facts, not really in narrative form. Obviously with picture books, that's going to be a little bit different. And so I feel like the story that it tells is very beautifully done. So the illustrations are always on point with most picture books usually, right? Because that's why picture books, right? The pictures. But the story is well done, beautiful illustrations. And so if you want a picture book for the Tuskegee Airmen and you want to introduce that, especially if you're doing your World War studies and things of that sort, or just in your civil rights movement block, or learning more about amazing African Americans, and I think that that would be like a really cool one. Another one is So Tall Within, and I really like it. And if you're like me, you probably have seen this around other people's stacks, but I just never got it. And then I got it from the library as I was doing my research, and I was like, this is actually really beautifully done. Not only are the illustrations beautiful, but the story itself, and what gets to me are these quotes over here. And that's not the only one. The story is like filled with it. So, I mean, look at the illustrations. Like, it's just so beautifully done. My books keep getting in the way. See, here's another one with a quote off to the side, but very, very beautifully done. And I can see why it's often recommended. I mean, look at the illustrations. They are just beautiful. I mean, are these watercoloring? I wonder if it tells us like the artist's notes. When I sat down to illustrate So Tall Within, she approached the text as a work of poetry. All right, what does she do? Does she do this? I'm waiting to see. Does she do this as like a watercolor? Because it has that type of essence to it. It doesn't tell me. It doesn't tell me. But it's really pretty. It's like it's I don't know. It gets to you. It really gets to you. So Nina Simone would be a really great option because you get to tie in really awesome music to go along with it. So Torchlight has a curriculum, rock and roll, and we actually did that last year as part of our music block that we did together. So I actually finished it, but that was my kid's first introduction into Nina Simone. And so she's a really great one. And so here's a picture book on her. I think it's just a fun book. It's a fun book. I love the information, the illustrations. The illustrations, I mean, on every single one that I'm going to show you, they're just like spot on. I mean, love it, love it. So anyway, so that one's Nina Simone. This the illustrations on this one too. They're all gonna be like, they're all, just be forewarned. Standing in the Need of Prayer, a modern retelling of the classic spiritual. Written by Carol Boston. I mean, before we even get into the story, but I'm just like, I mean, this is powerful. This is a powerful, powerful one. Powerful. Well, it has a little bit on, yeah. I mean, it is so good. It is so good. If you follow me on Instagram, I'm going to incorporate this next week, as well as another one. So I'm going to show it to you when it comes up. So if you follow me on Instagram, I am going to show you how I'm going to approach it, how I'm going to interweave it and stuff. And then Let the Children March. Now there's also, gosh, I have so much for my civil rights block. There is so much, and it's going to be a mix of historical fiction. There's going to be nonfiction. There's going to be tons of picture books like this to add variety. I'm very excited when we get to that period of time, but we're not anywhere near that. We are not anywhere near it. We probably won't even be here until next spring. We're quite a ways away. We're doing a 2-year study on history, on U.S. history and world history, starting from early modern times. It's going to take us 2 years. So we just barely got to Jamestown. We're not anywhere near here yet, okay? We just barely, actually, we're at the Salem witch trials, okay? We're slowly moving our way. But yeah, I can't wait for that. So there's that. Also, this one, if you're looking for a spine, so if you're putting together an African American history, or you just want to make sure that you include a lot of diverse voices and you want something to kind of guide you along that way, and you want to include more African American perspective and voices and stuff, I think that this would be a really great one. I'm actually thinking about just purchasing it so I have my own copy, instead of returning it back to the library. But this will give you like a lot of, and it's done obviously in chronological order, so you can kind of fit this into any period of history that you want, and you can kind of see like what you would like to include as you go along with it. You know, like, look at this. I don't even think I can grab that in one shot. Early African kingdoms. Isn't that really cool? And then it goes, I mean, DK is known for their pictures. Nobody's surprised, right? Like, nobody's surprised of the images. But anyway, so you can go through in here. Sorry, guys, it's a really tall book, and my book stack is getting in the way. But you can kind of see. And then it charts slavery in the U.S. I mean, so many things. And some things that you don't even think about. You know what I mean? Here, let me get, so you can see the name. Look, that's a model of a slave ship. Like, this is so good. I mean, look at that. I'm going to have to purchase this book. I think I'm just going to have it on hand. And here's Harriet Tubman. All right, so that's a really good one. This one on Instagram, I shared this one on Instagram and stuff. I was like, because sometimes you can find some of these sculptures and memorials and monuments and stuff. You can find it like in DC. So I know this has to do with the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment. And it makes sense to have it in Boston, but I couldn't help hoping. I was like, is it going to be in DC? Because we only live about an hour and a half away from DC. I was like, okay, I can go see it in DC, but it's in Boston. But Boston's not that far away, but it is it's not a day trip. You know, that's a 3.5-4 hour drive from us, but I couldn't help hoping. But anyway, there's that one. So then there's that one. And then this next one I think is really cool because I actually just recently learned about her, because you don't actually hear a lot about her when you hear about the Montgomery bus boycott. But I recently found out, as I was digging in and I was doing my own research for the civil rights movement, what a pivotal like instrumental figure that she was in the success of the Montgomery bus boycott, and I couldn't even believe it. So this one I'm definitely going to be incorporating, but there's another one too that I'm going to be doing. So it's her, and then there's Colette Calvin, is it? I forgot what her name is, but those people we're going to be learning about. There you go. I think the story in here is really interesting. And the illustrations in here are different from the other illustrations, but this has almost of a soulful like depiction of it, which I feel is like so fitting. Like I can feel like the soul like coming through it, the way that the illustrations are done here. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, so there's that one. Oh, this is the one that I was telling you guys about, the Tuskegee Airmen. So this is from Cornerstones of Freedom by Linda and Charles George. And this one is the one that I would recommend because it goes into a lot of detail, but it's not a full on, because I feel like it either goes from a very simple picture book to full on novels. And I haven't really found anything that's in between to learn about the Tuskegee Airmen, except for this one. This is the only one actually that I found. So if you guys know of another one, please let me know. But you can see here, it's going to go more in depth, but it's not going to be as time consuming as it would be if you did like a novel. Not that I'm opposed to a novel. I just don't think that our attention span and stamina is there quite yet for my youngest to join us in family style learning the way I'm going to do it for this, you know. Now my oldest, who's in 6th grade going into 7th grade, this would be his jam. I can get him like a novel like that and he can read it independently. But as far as our family block that we're planning on doing this as part of like history, I don't think my youngest would want that, you know what I mean? So, but again, if you have an older child who's really interested in it, I do plan on sharing whenever that block comes up from us. But again, it's probably not even going to happen until spring of next year. I plan on sharing all those books and resources too. And there's plenty of novels in there and stuff. But if you just want to get the foundations in, but you want more than just like a surface level survey into the Tuskegee Airmen, then that's a pretty good one. That's the only one I've actually found besides like novels. The Oldest Student, How Mary Walker Learned to Read. So here you go. Then it goes, it starts, it kind of gives like, it goes and takes you through a timeline of her life. But look at the real photographs. I think that that's really cool. Okay, so that's that one. And then there is, if you're not familiar with poetry for young people, I highly recommend it. It's really awesome. They have it for more than just Langston Hughes. I believe they may have like 20 different ones. Like, yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I'll show you why. They include a wide selection of their works in here. They always have a very detailed like intro in the very beginning. And then they have their work, but there's always like an explanation that goes along with it, like up here. So it's describing the poem before you get to the poem. And then you have some illustrations to go along with it. And then an explanation, poem, illustration. And that's why I like it, because it's not just a book of poetry where you're just opening it up and it's up to your interpretation or you need like a separate guide. Like this will tell you enough in here on the poem, and then you read it and an illustration. So you read it, poem, illustration. So we've read half of this, but we didn't finish the other half, and I own it, but I had this so my other son can have his own copy. So highly recommend that one. And then I have like a couple more, but they're more like biographies. And I think I'm missing a couple. But I've never heard of Neil Tyson. I've never heard of him, and I think that it's important to highlight the success of African Americans just as much as it is to talk about the struggles and more of like the horrific acts that were done against them, but also highlighting them as individuals. You know what I mean? So I want to showcase the beauty, like the Nina Simone's, the Langston Hughes, like that kind of stuff, you know? So I've never heard of him. This was recommended in somebody else's like book stack that I saw several months ago. And then I just like always kept a note of it. And then when it was time for me to like pick out books, I went ahead and I got it from the library. So there's this one, but hold on, because I'm going to go get a couple more. Okay, so I went in and I have them. I have them next to me. And so he looks like he was like something in astronomy. I don't know. I'm going to learn along with my kids. But I love the illustrations. Illustrations for me, and not all picture books have really nice like illustrations, but this one does. So anyway, I think it's all about balance. Like we have to teach the history. Like we have to teach the history, but we should also teach the beauty of it. You know, as a Hispanic and Latina person myself, I would not like it if all we did was talk about the struggles and none of the beauty that goes along with it, you know? So anyway, so there's that. And then there is this one, Buzzing with Questions. Now this one I was actually going to skip because where am I in my time gonna be able to implement this? Like if you follow me on Instagram, like I have a lot of things like going on, like there's a lot of things, but I think how awesome it would be to do this one right now because it's springtime and tie it into like the study of like insects and things of that sort, you know? So here's Charles Henry Turner, and he was a entomologist, and here it is. And this one has more like cartoony graphics. And there you go. So I think I'm going to squeeze it in next week. So stay tuned. If you're on Instagram, I'm going to squeeze that in. This one I'm going to circle back to for the summertime. This is Ice Cream Man, how Augustus Jackson made a sweet treat better. So I'm going to circle back in the summertime and do this then. I think this is just going to be a fun one. I mean, what better time to do it than in the summertime? And then you get to learn about somebody super cool that you never knew about it in the first place, you know? I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm going to do that one. Maybe I'll even do a book study and like share it over there like on Instagram, you know? So there's that one. Hold on. I feel like nope, that's the 3 that I have. I have that one, this one, and then this one. Okay, I have 2 more. Now, this one I highly, highly recommend, but I recommend there is a full-length I think that this is like the picture book version of this, but there's a more full-length version of this. So this is about the Green Book. And the Green Book basically was this book that was in production for African Americans, primarily, I believe, like in the South, who would have to travel through the South, oftentimes overnight, and not knowing which places were safe for them to stop at. And so this was like a travel guide on what hotels were good to stay at, what restaurants to eat at, places to go shopping along the route and stuff. And so I think that that is super cool. Yeah. So this is obviously around the Jim Crow era. Yeah, the Green Book. When it started out small, the Green Book became an expansive and valuable resource for Black people throughout the country, all in the hopes that one day such a guide would no longer be needed. And this is what it looks like. But there is a bigger one. So if you have older kids, I would almost recommend doing both. Like this one as an intro, and then the other one's going to go into a lot more detail. And again, when I get into that block of time, I'm going to share like all the things that I've gathered for it. But this one is a cool like intro one. And if you're not ready to do like the bigger one, which I wouldn't recommend until like middle school anyway, because there's a lot in there, then this would do. This is perfectly like this would be more than enough, you know? But again, if you want to dive deeper, just wait when I share that. Okay, and then the last one I'm actually doing next week. So also stay tuned on Instagram. I'm telling you, Instagram is where I live, you know, but I see the value in doing YouTube videos for these longer videos. And especially when I get asked all the time on Instagram to save it, and I can't possibly save everything to a highlight. So this is a really great compromise because I can share it here on YouTube. So this is a book that I've wanted for an easy 2 years that I've been like, I want to read that. I want to read that. And now I'm gonna read it. This next week, I'm gonna read it. The 1619 Project on Born on the Water. So I think it's a powerful story. I think the illustrations are amazing. I think the information and how it's presented is beautiful. I'm really excited to read this one. I mean, I love how it starts off showing the beauty of the culture, like the beauty of the people. And it's going to slowly start to churn. Actually, not that slowly. And even like the way that the images and the color tone and everything and how it's presented starts to change, right? Like, so you're bright and colorful and full of color, and slowly we're changing. So anyway, I think that this is a really great one. So I'm doing that next week. And where's my bug one? And then this one. I'm just going to work it in. I'll figure it out. But anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it and this gave you some ideas and some titles for things that maybe you didn't know existed. I plan on using every single one of these for our civil rights block in addition to other things when we get there. But I do have to return it to the library because I've had it so long. The library now thinks I want to keep it, and they're charging me market value for all the books. So like this book, $18.99. I'm getting charged for it. The 1619 Project. Oh, it doesn't have the price. Hold on. Because it's really funny, when I got the total, it was definitely a little bit of a shocker. $18.99. So I currently have like $500 worth of like outstanding library fees. So I do have to return it, and they'll all get wiped out once I return it. But still, I don't like to have like that $500 fine like standing in front of me, you know. So I'm gonna return it, check it back out when it's time, closer to the time when I need it. But except for these two I'm gonna continue to do because I need it for next week. So anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed it, guys. Don't forget, subscribe. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Bye, guys.